Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching another world burn. The colony below had surrendered 3 hours ago, but the bombardment continued. It always did. Fear was a weapon, and the Dominion knew how to use it well. "Commander, the last resistance pocket has been eliminated," his tactical officer reported. Nodded, that made 47 systems conquered in 3 centuries, 47 species that had learned to kneel before the Dominion. Some had fought. Most had simply given up when they saw the fleet arrive. The result was always the same. "Prepare the integration teams," said. "The High Chancellor will want this world productive within 6 months." He turned away from the viewport. There had been peaceful farmers, their technology centuries behind the Dominion. They never had a chance. None of them ever did. Back at the Dominion capital, High Chancellor reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. The council chamber was filled with his advisors, all of them pleased with recent victories. The Dominion had grown powerful through simple logic: find weaker species, conquer them, take their resources, and move on. It had worked for 300 years. "What is our next target?" asked. One of his intelligence officers stepped forward. "We have located a new species, Chancellor. They call themselves humans. They occupy 12 colony worlds in the outer rim. Their military strength: minimal from what we can observe. They have basic spacecraft and some defensive weapons, but nothing that could challenge even a small Dominion fleet. They have only been traveling between stars for 80 years. Smiled a young species. "Those were always the easiest." "Excellent. Prepare Commander's fleet for deployment. We will integrate human space within the year." Thousands of light years away, Captain Daniel Reeves sat in his office on the colony world of New Haven, reviewing defense readiness reports. The numbers were not good. New Haven had 6 orbital defense platforms, 2 patrol ships, and a handful of ground-based missile batteries. It was enough to deal with pirates or accidents, but not much else. His assistant, Lisa, knocked on his door. "Daniel, we have a problem. Long-range sensors picked up unknown ships 3 systems away. They match the profile of that Dominion we have been hearing about." Daniel felt his stomach drop. For the past year, rumors had spread through human space about an aggressive alien empire that conquered everything in its path. Most people had dismissed it as exaggeration. Now it seemed the rumors were true. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. "If they are coming here, maybe 3 days, maybe less." "Contact Earth, tell them we need help, then start evacuating civilians to the inner colonies." Lisa nodded and left. Daniel stood and looked out his window at New Haven's capital city. 50,000 people lived here. Most of them were farmers, miners, and their families. They had come here looking for a fresh start, not a war. 3 days later, the fleet arrived. Watched New Haven grow larger on his screens. The human colony looked exactly as the reports had described. Lightly defended, scattered settlements, no significant military presence. It would be over quickly. "Commander, the humans are broadcasting a message," his communications officer said. "They are asking for negotiations." "Ignore it, begin the attack." The Dominion fleet moved forward. The 6 orbital platforms opened fire, their missiles and energy weapons striking at shields. The shields absorbed the impacts easily. Ships returned fire, and within minutes all 6 platforms were destroyed. On New Haven, Daniel watched the platforms die on his monitor. He had known they would not last long, but seeing it happen was different. "All civilian ships begin immediate evacuation. Military vessels cover their retreat." The 2 human patrol ships moved to intercept the fleet. They were small, old, and completely outmatched, but they bought time. Dozens of civilian transports lifted off from New Haven's spaceports, carrying as many people as possible. Lisa worked frantically at her console, coordinating the evacuation. "We have got maybe half the population off-world. The rest will not make it before they start bombing." "Keep loading ships," Daniel said. "Every person we save matters." One of the human patrol ships exploded under fire. The other kept fighting, even as its hull burned and systems failed. Finally, it too was destroyed. The way was clear. Prepared to order the bombardment of New Haven's cities when his sensor officer spoke up. "Commander, the civilian ships are fleeing into deep space. Should we pursue?" "Let them go," said. "They will spread word of what happens when species resist the Dominion. Order the bombardment." The fleet rained fire on New Haven. Daniel and Lisa made it onto one of the last transports just as their command center was destroyed. Through the ship's windows, they watched their home burn. The transport joined the refugee convoy heading toward the inner colonies. Every person aboard was silent, watching New Haven disappear behind them. Sent his report to High Chancellor. The human colony has been neutralized. Resistance was minimal. I recommend proceeding with full integration of human space. They are weak and disorganized. This will be simple. Read the report and smiled. Another easy conquest. The Dominion would grow stronger and humanity would become just another conquered species in their empire. But deep in space, something was happening that Dominion sensors did not fully understand. A monitoring station detected massive movement in the human inner systems. Hundreds of ships were beginning to move, all heading in the same direction. Toward New Haven, toward the fleet. The Dominion analyst who reviewed the data dismissed it. "Civilian evacuation," he wrote in his report. "The humans are running scared as expected, no military significance." He was wrong. On Earth, news of New Haven's destruction spread quickly. The planetary government held an emergency meeting. Admirals, generals, and civilian leaders filled the room. The debate was short. "They attacked without warning," one admiral said. "They killed thousands of our people. If we do not respond, they will destroy every human colony in space." "But we have never fought a real war," a civilian representative argued. "We are not ready." "Then we get ready," another voice said. Admiral Holland stood. "We have 12 colony worlds, 3 billion people, and thousands of ships. Maybe our military is small, but we can change that. We start building, we start training, and we show these that humans do not kneel." The vote was unanimous. Earth would go to war. In the refugee convoy, Daniel Reeves received a message from Earth Fleet Command. It was simple and direct. "Hold together. Help is coming. We will take back what they took from us." Daniel shared the message with the other refugees. For the first time since fleeing New Haven, people started to hope. Lisa looked at him. "Do you think we can win?" "I do not know," Daniel admitted. "But I know we will fight. That has to count for something." Commander's fleet approached the human colony of Riverside with the same confidence they had shown at New Haven. Intelligence reports indicated this world was larger, with more population, but still lightly defended. The Dominion expected another quick victory. "Commander, we are detecting human military vessels in orbit," the sensor officer reported. "Count is 43 ships, various sizes." Studied the display. Most of the human ships were small patrol craft and converted civilian vessels. A few larger warships held position near the planet, nothing impressive. "They are going to try to fight. Good. We will destroy them and break their spirit." On the carrier vessel Defiant, Admiral Holland reviewed his battle plan one final time. He knew his fleet was outmatched in technology and firepower. They had better shields, stronger weapons, and more experience. But had studied every piece of intelligence about the Dominion he could find. He had noticed something important. They always fought the same way. They relied on their superior technology to win. They never adapted. They never had to. "All ships, this is Admiral Holland. Today we show them that humans do not give up. Every ship has volunteers who know the risks. We are going to swarm them. We are going to get close, stay close, and make them pay for every meter they advance. For New Haven, for every person they killed." In her fighter cockpit, Lieutenant checked her weapons one last time. Her squadron of 20 fighters was ready. They had trained for 3 weeks since New Haven fell. It was not much time, but it would have to be enough. "Red Squadron, you ready?" she called over the radio. "Ready, Lieutenant," came the replies. Knew most of these pilots. Some were military. Others were civilian volunteers who had learned to fly in a hurry. All of them understood they might not survive this battle. The fleet entered weapons range and opened fire. Their heavy plasma cannons struck at the human defensive line. 3 human ships exploded immediately, their shields overloaded. But the remaining ships did not retreat. Instead, they charged forward. Watched in confusion as the human fleet accelerated toward his formation. "What are they doing? They are moving into our effective range." "Perhaps their sensors are malfunctioning," his tactical officer suggested. "It does not matter. All ships concentrate fire, destroy them." The fleet unleashed everything it had. Human ships died by the dozen, but for every ship that exploded, 3 more kept coming. They spread out, attacking from multiple angles, refusing to form a neat target. Some ships were military vessels with proper weapons. Others were freighters with missile pods welded to their hulls. A few were mining ships carrying explosive charges. Watched his fleet take devastating casualties. They had lost 15 ships in the first 10 minutes, but his plan was working. The human vessels were getting close to the formation, too close for their long-range weapons to be most effective. All ships execute swarm pattern Delta. Get inside their defensive perimeter. The human fleet scattered into dozens of small groups. They darted between ships, forcing the enemy to choose targets carefully to avoid hitting their own vessels. They had never fought an enemy willing to accept such terrible losses just to close the distance. Fighter squadron dove toward the command ship. Point defense fire filled the space around them. 2 fighters exploded. 3 more took damage, but pushed forward, leading the survivors straight at the command ship's shield generators. Red squadron arm all missiles. We only get one pass at this. The fighters released their payloads at point-blank range, then scattered. The missiles struck the shield generators simultaneously. The command ship's shields flickered and failed in one section. It was only for a few seconds, but it was enough. A human destroyer that had been waiting for this moment fired everything it had at the exposed section. The command ship shuddered under the impacts. Its shields came back online, but damage had been done. Felt his ship shake. Report. Hull breach on decks 7 through 9. Shield generators at 70% capacity. Weapons systems compromised. For the first time in his career, felt uncertain. The humans were supposed to break and run. Instead, they kept coming. More human ships appeared from behind Riverside, reinforcements that had been hiding. They threw themselves at the fleet with complete disregard for their own survival. On Riverside's surface, Ground Commander Martinez watched the battle through her command center's displays. She had been a Marine on Earth before retiring to colonial service. Now she coordinated the planet's ground defenses, preparing for the possibility that they would break through and attempt a landing. The fleet is holding them, her second-in-command said, but the casualties are bad. They knew what they were signing up for, said quietly. Every one of them volunteered. In space, ordered another wave forward. A group of armed freighters accelerated toward a cruiser. The cruiser destroyed 2 of them easily. The third rammed into its side before it could be stopped. The explosion tore both ships apart. Watched in horror as his ships were pulled into a brutal close-range battle. His crews had trained for long-range engagements where their superior technology gave them the advantage. This was chaos. Human ships exploded constantly, but there were always more. They fought like they had nothing to lose. Commander, we have lost 8 ships, damage to 13 others. The humans have lost at least 30 vessels, but they are still attacking. Made a decision he had never made before. All ships pull back, reform at distance. The fleet began to retreat. Human ships pursued until called them off. He could not afford to lose any more vessels. Returned to the Defiant with only 8 fighters from her squadron of 20. The others had died buying seconds and meters. She climbed out of her cockpit with shaking hands. The battle ended with the fleet withdrawing to the edge of the system. Sent an emergency report to High Chancellor. Human resistance was more severe than anticipated. They employ unconventional tactics and accept catastrophic losses without breaking. Recommend additional fleet resources before continuing operations. Read the report with disbelief. How many ships did we lose to these primitives? 8 destroyed, 13 damaged, Commander. The humans lost approximately 40 vessels. And we retreated from an enemy we outnumbered and outgunned. They did not fight rationally, High Chancellor. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation. Our tactical doctrine does not account for such behavior. Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. We will send the 3rd Fleet to join you. Take both fleets and crush these humans completely. They must learn that the Dominion cannot be. On Riverside, the population celebrated their survival, but knew the truth. They had won a battle, but the war was just beginning. He sent a message to all human colonies. They can be beaten, but it will cost us everything. Every colony must prepare, build ships, train crews that will return in greater numbers. We need to be ready to make them pay for every system, every planet, every meter of space. On one of the refugee transports, Daniel Reeves received message. He read it to the survivors of New Haven. We are going back, he told them. Not to New Haven, it is gone, but we are going to fight. Anyone who wants to help can enlist when we reach the inner colonies. Lisa stood beside him. You think we can win this? I think we can make them wish they never found us, Daniel said. Back on Earth, the government mobilized for total war. Shipyards that built commercial vessels began producing warships. Civilian pilots trained for combat. Mining companies redirected resources to military production. 3 billion humans prepared to face an empire that had conquered 47 species. In a small colony on the frontier, a young man named Ben Carter watched the news reports about Riverside. He had been planning to study agriculture. Instead, he walked into a recruitment office and signed up for the Navy. "When do I start?" he asked. "Today," the recruiter said. "We need everyone we can get." Commander gathered his officers for a meeting. "The High Chancellor is sending reinforcements. When they arrive, we will attack the human industrial world called Foundation. It is their main production center. If we destroy it, we break their ability to build ships." His officers nodded but could see doubt in their faces. They had all expected an easy conquest. Now they faced an enemy that refused to surrender, no matter the cost. "The humans fight without logic," one officer said. "They throw away lives for small gains." "Then we will teach them the price of defiance," replied. "We will show them that courage without Dr. Myra had been a scientist for the Dominion for 30 years. She studied conquered species, learning their biology to help the Dominion integrate them efficiently. Usually it was simple work. Most species were similar enough to each other. But the High Chancellor had ordered her to study humans carefully. Something about them troubled the military leadership. She examined the medical data from captured human soldiers. What she found made her pause. Humans were dense. Their bones were thick and heavy. Their muscles were packed with more fibers than any species she had studied before. Their cardiovascular systems could function at extreme pressures. Even their immune systems were aggressive, fighting off infections that would kill most other species. "This does not make sense," she muttered. She accessed the Dominion's database on Earth. The planet was rated as Class 12 on the habitability scale. Myra felt her blood go cold. Class 12 meant extreme danger. It was the kind of world where evolution became a constant war. Earth had gravity 20% higher than standard. Its weather included violent storms that could level cities. The oceans had creatures that could swallow boats whole. The land had predators that hunted in packs. Diseases evolved quickly, forcing immune systems to stay constantly active. Even the plants were often poisonous. Humans had not evolved on a garden world like they had evolved in hell. Myra prepared her report and sent it to Commander with a priority flag. "Commander, the humans are from a Class 12. They are biologically designed for survival under extreme conditions. Their aggression and pain tolerance are evolutionary advantages. Recommend extreme caution in continued operations." Read her report and dismissed it. "Biology does not matter. We have superior technology. That is what wins wars." He prepared his combined fleet for the assault on Foundation. The Third Fleet had arrived, giving him over 100 warships. It was the largest force the Dominion had assembled in decades. Foundation would fall, and human resistance would break. Foundation was a cold, industrial world. Its surface was covered with factories and mining operations. 80 million humans lived there, most of them workers in the production facilities. When the fleet arrived, they found a planet ready for war. Martinez had been transferred to Foundation to organize its defense. She had 3 weeks to prepare. It was not enough time to build a fleet, but it was enough to turn the planet into a fortress. Every factory had been converted into a defensive position. Underground bunkers connected the major cities. Missile batteries covered every approach. Surfaced orbit waited in hidden positions. "They will try to bomb us from orbit first," told her commanders. "When that fails, they will send ground forces. We need to make them fight for every building, every street, every room." Admiral arrived with the human defense fleet. He had 60 ships, all of them carrying damage from previous battles. It was not enough to stop the fleet, but it was enough to make them pay. The battle began with both fleets opening fire at maximum range. Plasma weapons tore into human shields. Human missiles and rounds struck back. Within the first hour, both sides had lost ships. Used the same tactics that had worked at Riverside. His ships scattered, attacking from multiple vectors, refusing to form a neat target. They focused on destroying human vessels, but for every ship they killed, the human fleet pulled them further into Foundation's defensive network. Ground-based weapons opened fire. Rounds moving at incredible speeds punched through shields. Missile swarms launched from hidden positions forced ships to maneuver constantly. The space around Foundation became a killing zone. Watched his fleet take damage. They had destroyed half the human ships, but the cost was higher than expected. We need to land ground forces, take the missile batteries and offline. Troop transports descended toward Foundation's surface. Watched them come. All units hold fire until they commit to landing zones. The transports touched down in what appeared to be clear areas away from major cities. Soldiers poured out, ready to advance. Then they discovered the problem. Foundation's atmosphere was toxic to them. The industrial pollution and harsh conditions that humans lived in without issue were deadly to soldiers from the garden world. Troops had to wear full environmental suits. The suits were good, but they slowed movement and limited visibility. Human defenders wore simple masks and fought in conditions they had lived in all their lives. Led a counterattack against the largest landing zone. Her Marines moved through the industrial complex, using their knowledge of the terrain. Every factory was a maze. Every warehouse was a trap. They had superior weapons and armor, but they were fighting on human terms. Ben Carter fired his rifle from behind a concrete barrier. He had been assigned to a Marine unit after basic training. The soldiers were tough, their armor absorbing shots that should have killed them. But humans kept coming. When one fell, another took their place. A soldier emerged from cover, his weapon tracking toward Ben. Ben threw himself aside. The plasma bolt missed by centimeters. Another Marine shot the soldier from the side, and he went down. "Keep moving," shouted. "Do not let them set up defensive positions." The ground battle turned into a brutal grind. Soldiers were better equipped, but human fighters were more adaptable. They used the industrial environment as a weapon, luring troops into areas with toxic gas leaks or collapsing buildings. Every meter of ground cost the blood. In orbit, the space battle entered its third day. Fleet was down to 30 ships. They had lost 40 but still outnumbered the humans. Both sides were exhausted. Ships operated with damaged systems. Crews worked around the clock to keep weapons functioning. Flew her fifth sortie of the day. Her fighter wing had been reinforced twice as other squadrons were destroyed. She targeted a cruiser's engines, scoring hits that forced it to withdraw from formation. "Red Leader, this is Defiant. We have got more transports inbound to the surface. Can you intercept?" "On it," replied. Her fighters dove toward the transports. The transports had escort fighters, but Squadron had learned to fight outnumbered. They accepted losses to get close enough for kills. 3 transports exploded. The rest made it through, but with their formations scattered. On the ground, captured an officer after a fierce firefight. She brought him to a secure location for interrogation. "Why are you doing this?" she asked through a translator. "Why attack us?" The officer stared at her. "Because you exist, the Dominion takes what it wants. That is the natural order. You attacked us because you could. We attacked you because you were weak. But you are not weak. You are insane. You fight battles you cannot win. You accept losses that would break any rational species." Leaned close. "We fight because we do not have a choice. You gave us none, so now we make you regret it." She arranged a prisoner exchange. The officer returned to his flagship. The captured humans went to the refugee ships fleeing Foundation, met with the officer personally. "They will not surrender," the officer said. "I think they cannot surrender. Something in them refuses to quit." Looked at casualty reports. His fleet had lost nearly half its ships. Ground forces had taken 60% casualties. Foundation's defenses were weakening, but human reinforcements kept arriving from other colonies. The battle had lasted 6 days. "We are winning," said. "Are we?" the officer asked. "They have lost more ships, more soldiers, more ground, but they are still fighting. When do they break?" Had no answer. On the 7th day, received orders from High Chancellor. "The Dominion Council is concerned about the length and cost of this campaign. Win the battle and withdraw. We need to reconsider our strategy." Threw everything he had left at Foundation. His remaining ships bombarded key positions. Ground forces made a final push to take the capital city. They succeeded, but the cost was terrible. When they finally planted their flag in Foundation's capital, they controlled a burning city filled with rubble. The human fleet to defensive positions, evacuated the capital and regrouped in secondary positions. Foundation was lost, but the victory felt hollow. Sent his report. Foundation is under Dominion control. Human casualties estimated at 40%. Dominion casualties, 53 ships destroyed, 38,000 ground troops dead or wounded, multiple officers requiring medical evacuation. Read the report in silence. They had won, but at what cost? The humans had only been spacefaring for 80 years. They had no empire, no great fleets. They had made ships out of freighters and fought with whatever weapons they could build, and they had nearly won. Pull back all forces to defensive positions, ordered. No more offensive operations until we develop new tactics. But it was too late to stop what had been set in motion. Sent a message across all human colonies. Foundation fell, but the bled for it. They know now that we will never quit. Build more ships, train more crews. They will come again, and we will be ready. Admiral studied the intelligence report for the 10th time. The words did not change. The Dominion was developing a biological weapon specifically designed to kill humans. The weapon was being created at a research station in the Nexus system, deep inside Dominion territory. If they completed it and deployed it, humanity would be extinct within months. "We have to destroy it," said to his command staff, "before they can use it." "That means attacking into their space," one officer said. "We have been fighting defensively. An offensive operation will stretch our resources." "If we do nothing, we die anyway," replied. "At least this way we fight back." The plan was simple and desperate. Humanity would gather every ship it could spare and strike directly at the research station. It would be the first time humans invaded Dominion territory. Success was not guaranteed. Survival was not guaranteed, but doing nothing meant certain death. Attended the briefing for fighter pilots. "We will be going deep into enemy space with limited support. There will be no retreat if things go wrong. Every pilot is a volunteer. If you want to back out, no one will judge you." Not a single pilot left the room. Marine Commander Jack Palmer prepared his boarding teams. They would be the ones who entered the research station and destroyed the weapon. "We go in fast and hard. They will defend this place with everything they have. Our job is to get to the weapon, document what we find, and blow it all to pieces." His Marines were a mix of professional soldiers and civilian volunteers, men and women who had lost families to attacks, people who had seen their homes destroyed. They all understood what was at stake. The human fleet assembled at a staging point 2 systems from Nexus. Over 200 ships gathered, the largest force humanity had ever put together. Many were warships built in the past months. Others were armed freighters and converted civilian vessels. Every ship carried volunteers who knew they might not return. Daniel Reeves had joined the crew of a destroyer called Hammer. The survivors of New Haven had scattered across the fleet, all of them determined to strike back. Lisa worked in the command center, coordinating logistics. "We have enough ammunition for one major battle," she told. "If this does not work, we will not have resources for another attempt." "Then we make it work," said. Dr. Myra had defected to the human side 3 weeks earlier. She provided detailed intelligence about the research station's defenses and layout. "The weapon is stored in the central laboratory. You will need to reach the core level, but the station also contains data on other Dominion crimes. If you can retrieve that information, you can show the galaxy what the Dominion truly is." "We will get it," Jack promised. The fleet jumped into the Nexus system. Alarms sounded immediately across the defensive forces. Commander was at the research station personally, overseeing the final stages of the weapon's development. He had been ordered to protect it at all costs. "Humans in the system, multiple ships, over 200 contacts," his sensor officer shouted. Felt a chill. The humans had brought everything. "All defensive fleets engage immediately. We cannot let them reach the station." The battle began with both sides launching everything they had. The defensive fleet numbered 80 ships, supported by the station's fixed weapons. The humans had numbers, but they had better positions and fortified defenses. Split his fleet into multiple groups. "Remember the plan? We swarm them. We break through no matter the cost. Fighter wings clear a path for the assault teams. Led her squadron into the teeth of the defense. Point defense fire filled space with deadly crossfire. Fighters exploded around her. She kept pushing forward, targeting ships' shield generators. Her missiles struck home. Shields flickered. Human capital ships pushed through the gaps. They took heavy fire but kept moving. Ben Carter's station on the Hammer shook as plasma bolts struck their hull. The ship's shields failed. Armor began to melt, but the Hammer kept firing, kept moving forward. All crews brace for impact, the captain shouted. The hammer rammed a cruiser, both ships tearing each other apart. Ben felt the impact throw him across the bridge. Emergency lights flickered. Half the crew was dead or injured, but they had created an opening. Jack's assault ships dove for the station. Fighters tried to intercept. Human fighters threw themselves in the way, trading their lives for seconds of time. The assault ships reached the station's docking bays. "Go, go, go," Jack shouted. Marines poured out, firing at defenders. The station's corridors became a war zone. Soldiers had the advantage of prepared positions. Humans had the advantage of desperation. Had come with the assault force. She led a team down one corridor while Jack took another. They fought room by room, deck by deck. Defenders fought hard, but humans kept pushing forward. Every time the advance stalled, someone found a way through. Ben had survived the hammer's destruction and made it onto the station with a damage control team. They were supposed to secure the docking bay. Instead, they found themselves in combat when reinforcements arrived. Ben fired his rifle, dropping a soldier. Another Marine fell beside him. Ben kept firing. Jack's team reached the central laboratory. The door was sealed and reinforced. Breach charges now. The explosives blew the door inward. Jack led the rush inside. Scientists and guards fought back. The battle was short and brutal. When the smoke cleared, the humans controlled the laboratory. The biological weapons sat in containment units, ready for deployment. Jack looked at it with cold fury. "Record everything. I want every detail documented, then we destroy it all." His team found the data archives. Myra had told them what to look for, files upon files of Dominion operations. Evidence of 3 other species exterminated by biological weapons. Records of conquered worlds, enslaved populations, and systematic destruction of cultures. "Download everything," ordered. "The galaxy needs to see this." In orbit, the space battle had become a slaughter. Both sides had lost over half their ships, but humans kept coming. They rammed damaged ships into vessels. They detonated reactors to take out enemy formations. His fighter was hit, her engines damaged. She managed to crash into a destroyer's bridge instead of dying uselessly. Watched his fleet die around him, but the mission was succeeding. The assault teams had reached the weapon. "All remaining ships cover the assault team's extraction. We are almost done." Tried to reach the laboratory to activate the weapon personally. His team stopped him in a corridor. The firefight was intense, was wounded but fought on. Finally, Jack arrived and stunned him with a close-range shot. "We have got him," Jack reported. "The commander is captured." "Good," replied. "Maybe we can learn something from him." The laboratory exploded in a controlled demolition. The biological weapon was destroyed. The data archives were secured. Jack's Marines began fighting their way back to the docking bays. The fleet made one final push to stop the humans from escaping, but human ships formed a defensive wall around the assault vessels. They took the hits meant for the Marines. Ships exploded, but the assault teams made it back to the transports. "All units withdraw," ordered. "We have got what we came for." The surviving human ships jumped out of the system. Behind them, the research station burned. The defensive fleet was shattered. The biological weapon was gone. Back in human space, broadcast the recovered Dominion files across every communications channel in known space. Evidence of Dominion atrocities spread to every species, every government. Species that had been conquered revolted. Neutral governments condemned the Dominion. The entire galaxy turned against them. High Chancellor watched his empire begin to collapse. Rebellions broke out on a dozen worlds. Former subjects refused to pay tribute. The Dominion Council demanded explanations. "The humans did this," said. "They invaded our territory, destroyed our weapon, and stole our secrets." "They also revealed our crimes," one council member said. "The galaxy knows what we have done. How do we respond?" Made a decision born of desperation. "We attack Earth itself. We take the human. We end this war by cutting off their head." In a prison cell on a human ship, Commander listened to reports of the Dominion's plan. He asked to speak with. When she arrived, he looked at her with something close to respect. "You should have let me die in that corridor," he said. "We are not like you," replied. "We do not kill prisoners." "That makes you weak." "Does it? We captured you. We destroyed your weapon. We exposed your crimes to the galaxy. And we are still here, still fighting. Tell me how that makes us weak." Had no answer, continued. Your High Chancellor is going to attack Earth. He thinks destroying our will break us. He is wrong. It will only make us more determined. How can you be sure? Asked. Because we have already lost homes. We have already seen our worlds burn, and we are still here. That is what it means to be human. Sat in silence after she left. For the first time, he understood what his people faced. The humans would not surrender. They could not surrender. It was not in their nature. Ben Carter recovered from his injuries aboard a medical ship. He had survived 4 battles now: New Haven, Riverside, Foundation, and Nexus. Each time he had seen friends die. Each time he had kept fighting. When the doctors cleared him for duty, he reported back immediately. "Where do you want to go?" the assignment officer asked. "Earth," Ben said. "They are coming for our home. I want to be there." "You will have plenty of company," the officer said. "Every ship we have is heading to Earth." Across human space, the call went out. The Dominion was coming. Every available ship, every trained crew, every person who could fight was ordered to Earth's defense. This would be the final battle. Humanity would either survive or die. There was no middle ground. Prepared his battered fleet for one more fight, climbed into a new fighter. Jack gathered his Marines, loaded ammunition. Daniel and Lisa worked on logistics. Millions of humans prepared to defend there. The Dominion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 warships, the combined might of an empire that had conquered 47 worlds. High Chancellor stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the blue planet ahead. This would be where human resistance ended. "All ships, advance formation. We will destroy their orbital defenses first, then bombard the planet until they surrender." But as the Dominion fleet moved forward, sensors began detecting human ships. Dozens at first, then hundreds, then thousands. They came from every direction. Some were military vessels, others were armed civilian ships, mining barges with weapons mounted on their hulls, passenger liners converted to carry missiles, old freighters that could barely fly but still had working guns. "How many ships do they have?" demanded. "Count is still rising, Chancellor. Over 2,000 contacts now, more arriving every minute." Stared at the displays in disbelief. Where had they gotten so many ships? The answer was simple. When you threaten to destroy someone's home, everyone becomes a soldier. Earth had mobilized completely. Every ship that could fly had been armed. Every person who could crew one had volunteered. Admiral coordinated the defense from an orbital command station. He looked at the massive Dominion fleet and then at his own forces. The humans were outnumbered in firepower and technology, but they had numbers, and they had something else, nothing left to lose. "All ships, this is Admiral Holland. Today we defend our home, not a colony, not an outpost, Earth itself. Every person we love is down there, our families, our friends, everything that makes us human. They think we will break, they are wrong. We show them what humans do when you threaten our home. We fight, we swarm, we never stop." The two fleets met in the space between Earth and its moon. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Dominion ships formed tight battle lines, using their superior shields and weapons to devastating effect. Dozens of human ships exploded in the opening volleys. But for every ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. The human fleet did not fight like a military force. It fought like a swarm of angry insects. They came from above, below, from every angle. They spread out so widely that the Dominion could not concentrate fire. They accepted catastrophic losses to close the distance. Led a fighter wing of 200 craft. Most of the pilots were volunteers with minimal training. It did not matter. "All wings target the flagship's engines. We disable ship and we break their morale." Point Defense destroyed half her wing before they reached attack range. Kept coming. She fired everything she had at the flagship's engine section. Other fighters followed. The flagship's shields held, but the constant assault forced it to divert power from weapons. On the ground, Martinez watched the battle from a command center. She coordinated Earth's ground-based defenses. Hundreds of pointed at the sky. Missile batteries waited in hidden locations. If they broke through and tried to land troops, Earth would be ready. Ben Carter was aboard a destroyer called Last Stand. The ship was new, built in the past 3 months specifically for this battle. Its crew was a mix of experienced sailors and civilians who had learned their jobs in weeks instead of years. It did not matter. They all knew how to fight. "Target that cruiser," the captain ordered. "All weapons fire." The Last Stand's missiles streaked toward a cruiser. The cruiser's shields absorbed most of the hits, but damage was accumulating. Other human ships focused fire on the same target. The cruiser's shields collapsed. Hull breaches appeared. The ship began to list. Watched his fleet take damage. The humans were losing 5 ships for every vessel destroyed, but they had ships to spare. More importantly, they showed no sign of retreating. They just kept coming. Chancellor, we have destroyed over 300 human vessels, but our fleet has lost 42 ships, and many more are damaged. Push forward, ordered. We break through their lines and reach the planet. Once we begin bombardment, they will surrender. The Dominion fleet advanced. Human ships threw themselves in the way. Mining barges rammed cruisers. Freighters detonated their reactors next to destroyers. A passenger liner carrying only a skeleton crew crashed into the side of a battleship, both ships exploding in a ball of fire. Jack Palmer led Marine teams aboard orbital defense platforms. Their job was to protect the platforms from boarding actions. They will try to take these guns. We do not let them. Simple as that. Assault shuttles approached one of the platforms. Jack's Marines opened fire from defensive positions. The shuttles crashed through the hull and disgorged soldiers. The battle moved into the station's corridors, humans, and fought room by room. Jack's team held their ground. In deep space behind the Dominion fleet, new contacts appeared, ships from species that had been conquered by the Dominion. They had heard about the human resistance. They had seen the evidence of Dominion crimes. Now they came to help. Not many ships, maybe 50 total, but they struck the Dominion fleet from behind. "We are being attacked from the rear," an officer shouted. Turned in shock, by whom? The others we conquered. They are all here." For the first time, fear touched his heart. The Empire was falling apart, but he had come too far to stop now. "All ships, continue the attack. We end this here." The battle had lasted 6 hours. Both sides were exhausted. Ships operated with damaged systems. Crews pushed themselves beyond their limits. The space around Earth was filled with debris and burning wrecks, but neither side retreated. Received a report. "Admiral, we have lost over 800 ships. They have lost 93. At this rate, we can last maybe another 4 hours before our fleet is completely destroyed." "Then we fight for 4 hours," said. "And if that is not enough, we fight with whatever is left after that." Daniel Reeves and Lisa worked frantically to coordinate reinforcements and ammunition supplies. Every colony had sent what they could. Even civilian transports too damaged to fight carried supplies to active ships. "We are running out of missiles," Lisa reported. "Then we start ramming them," Daniel said. "We do not stop." Fighter was damaged, her shield gone, one engine sputtering. She had destroyed 3 fighters and damaged a cruiser. Now she lined up for one more attack. Her fighter would not survive this, but maybe she could take one more enemy ship with her. Before she could complete her attack run, a transmission came through. "All forces, this is Commander. I am transmitting from human custody. The High Chancellor is leading you to destruction. The Dominion has already fallen. Rebellions are spreading across our territory. This war is lost. Continuing only wastes more lives." His face went red with rage. "Silence that transmission is a traitor." But continued. "I have seen what humans are capable of. They will not surrender. They cannot surrender. It is not in their biology. If you value your lives, withdraw now. Save yourselves and your crews." Several ships began pulling back. Their captains had seen enough death. They did not want to die for a lost cause, watched his fleet begin to fracture. "All ships maintain formation. Any ship that withdraws will be destroyed as traitors." But more ships pulled back. The Dominion fleet was breaking apart. Some captains still followed. Others chose survival over orders. The human fleet pressed their advantage, targeting ships that stayed to fight. His flagship took a direct hit from around. The shot came from Earth's surface, a weapon that fired projectiles at a fraction of light speed. It punched through the flagship's shields and tore into the engine section. The ship shuddered. Power failed across multiple decks. "Chancellor, we are losing power. The ship is crippled." Looked at the tactical display. His fleet was scattered. Earth's defenses were holding. Human ships surrounded his position. More former Dominion subjects were arriving to help humanity. The battle was lost. The war was lost. The Empire was lost. "Contact the human fleet. Request terms for surrender." Received the message. He could have pressed the attack. He could have destroyed every remaining ship. But he thought about all the lives lost, all the ships destroyed. All the people who would never go home, enough blood had been spilled. Tell the High Chancellor we accept his surrender. All forces are to power down weapons and prepare to be escorted to a neutral zone. Any ship that fires will be destroyed. One by one, the Dominion ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Earth had survived. Walked onto the command center's observation deck. The sky was filled with debris and damaged ships, but Earth was safe. She allowed herself to feel relief for the first time in months. Ben's ship, the Last Stand, had survived with heavy damage. Half the crew was wounded or dead, but they had won. Ben looked at Earth through a viewport. Home, still there, still safe. Jack's Marines had held their orbital platform. They had lost 30% of their force, but the platform's guns were still operational. Jack sat down for the first time in 10 hours. His whole body ached, but it was over. Brought her damaged fighter back to its carrier. She climbed out of the cockpit and collapsed. Medics rushed to help her. She had burns on her arms and a concussion from impacts. But she was alive. She had survived. The formal surrender took place 3 days later. High Chancellor signed documents transferring control of Dominion territories to a coalition government formed by the conquered species. The Dominion would be reduced to its home system and 3 colonies. War crimes trials would begin immediately. Reparations would be paid. Attended the ceremony, he looked at, seeing not a mighty emperor but a broken old man who had believed his own propaganda. "Why did you keep fighting?" asked, "even when you knew you would lose?" "Because we had always won before," said quietly. "In 300 years, no one had ever defeated us. I thought it was impossible. I was wrong." "You were wrong about a lot of things," said. "But you were mostly wrong about humans. We do not fight because we are strong. We fight because we do not know how to quit." Over the following months, a new order emerged in the galaxy. Former Dominion subjects formed a federation. Humanity was invited to join as a founding member. Not because humans had won the war, but because they had shown the galaxy what was possible when you refused to give up. Received a medal for her actions. She accepted it but thought about all the pilots who had not come home. "We did this together," she said at the ceremony. "Everyone who fought, everyone who built ships, everyone who refused to surrender, that is what won this war." Jack returned to civilian life, opening a small business on Earth. But he kept his uniform. Sometimes young people would ask him about the war. He would tell them honestly. "It was terrible. We lost so many people. But we did what we had to do. We protected our home." Ben decided to stay in the Navy. He had learned he was good at defending people. He wanted to make sure humanity would be ready if another threat emerged. "We won this time," he said. "But we got lucky. We need to be prepared." Wrote a book about the war. In it, she talked about the ordinary people who became heroes. The civilians who flew damaged ships into enemy vessels, the factory workers who built weapons around the clock, the families who said goodbye to loved ones who never came back. "This was not a war won by generals and admirals," she wrote. "It was won by millions of humans who decided that their home was worth fighting for." Daniel and Lisa returned to the ruins of New Haven. They joined the rebuilding effort. Slowly, the colony came back to life. New buildings rose from the ashes. Families returned. Life continued. "They tried to break us," Lisa said, looking at the new city taking shape. "They failed." Myra, the scientist who had defected, helped establish scientific exchanges between species. She spent years helping former Dominion subjects recover from the damage done to their worlds. "I cannot undo what my people did," she said, "but I can try to make amends." Commander lived the rest of his life under house arrest on a human colony world. He spent his time writing about the war from the perspective. His final book concluded with a simple statement. "We thought technology was enough. We forgot that the will to fight matters more than the weapons you carry. The humans taught us that lesson. It cost both our species dearly." Admiral retired after the war. He spent his final years at a quiet home on Earth tending a garden. When people asked him how humanity had won, he always gave the same answer. "We did not win because we were better. We won because we were more stubborn. The Dominion could destroy our ships, but they could not destroy our will. And in the end, that made all the difference." Years passed, the galaxy changed. The scars of war faded slowly. But humanity never forgot. On Earth, a memorial was built listing the names of every person who died in the war. Millions of names, each one a reminder of the price paid for freedom. New generations grew up in a galaxy where humans were respected not for their technology or their military might, but for their spirit. The species that had refused to surrender. The people who had faced an empire that seemed unbeatable and had beaten it anyway. The Dominion became a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when you believe you cannot be defeated. Their victories had seemed endless, but they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated the relentless swarm, and that mistake had cost them everything. And far away, the Dominion assembled the largest fleet it had ever created. High Chancellor would personally lead the attack. He would crush Earth and end the human threat forever. The Dominion's victories would continue. But the humans were ready. The swarm was gathering, and this time they were fighting for everything. Myra's report about Earth being circulated through Dominion intelligence. Some officers started to understand. The humans were not weak. They were predators from a world that killed the weak. War was not new to them. It was survival. And somewhere in deep space, human intelligence intercepted a communication about a new weapon. A biological weapon designed to wipe out humanity completely. The message was sent to immediately. The war was about to change. Ology is meaningless. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice asked a question he did not want to answer. What happens when the enemy does not care about the cost? Far ahead of the refugee convoy, the fleet moved on to their next target. Commander was confident. The humans would fall like all the others. The Dominion's victories would continue. He had no idea what was coming.